That's the problem that we're having. We sit there and we're like, oh, we're gonna do this and that and the other, but we don't actually do this or that, and then we never get to another. So it's probably time I check this video out. Let's see what Dr. K says.
Hey, I think this is wrong. Therefore, screw them, downvote, cancel them. We never question our own beliefs. And this is how we create echo chambers. And this is how we stay stuck.
Some people don't. Some people don't question their own beliefs. Even when you start questioning, you know, it's hard to keep it up, for sure.
My ex consumed a ton of Dr. K content and got a false sense of wellness. Just a heads up, my ex-boyfriend had a huge...
I've also consumed a lot of Dr. K content, and I've not been filled with a sense of wellness. If anything, you know, I watch too many videos, and they just turn into more videos, you know? They just turn into more content, and then you just keep watching your videos, but nothing changes, just like the title says. So more than likely, he's probably gonna say shit like, oh, don't watch a lot, don't binge it, you know, just watch one, get it done. Ooh, watch one, get it done.
Mental health slide and became less and less well. I was really worried about him, but he felt he was past needing therapy and above getting an intake or any help of any kind. Yet he consumed a lot of Dr. K content. He even recommended that I watch Dr. K because my anxiety was getting worse. Actually, I got therapy, and it turns out that my anxiety was almost entirely to do with my ex, our relationship, and my growing codependency on trying to fix him. Well done. Unfortunately, I think it gave him a false...
So the ex that she left, right? Yeah, my ex-boyfriend. Okay.
...sense of being on top of his mental health. However, it continued to get worse. Eventually, I uncovered a very serious drug addiction issue, not to mention other addictions over time, such as gaming, work, shopping, consuming content, etc. One of the biggest things he obsessively watched the content, but never took any of the advice or put it into practice. For example, binge watching the content on sleep hygiene late at night and continuing terrible sleep habits after that. While I did watch some Dr. K and found it useful taking notes, etc., please be mindful that this is not a substitute for real professional help, journaling, meds, therapy, etc. I assume that this is probably obvious. Yeah, we say that at the beginning of every stream and every piece of content that we put out.
Yeah, he literally does.
I don't think anyone has been misled. Thank God. However, I saw the subreddit today and thought I'll leave a message before parting.
There's so many people out there on the internet that don't even watch the stuff that they comment on. It is absurd, and it's so obvious sometimes that they just don't even watch it. I mean, obviously, this isn't exactly this case. This guy was watching the hell out of it. But what I'm saying is, at the beginning of the videos, yeah, he puts it in.
Before parting. Thank you so much for doing that. Let's talk about the problems of watching Dr. K's content and the false sense of well-being that it provides. So this is something that we've got to understand, okay? So this is a case of someone whose partner was addicted to what sounds like substances of some kind, had some pretty bad addictions, and then consumed mental health content on the internet as an excuse to not do work. As much as I love to bash Dr. K's content,
just find a different
I don't think
vein
we can
real
really
quick.
take the blame for this. And here's the reason why. Hey y'all, I want to take a second to talk about HG coaching. And y'all may be wondering, oh my God, bruh, like I don't want to talk about coaching. I just want to watch YouTube videos because there's a part of your brain that recognizes that you need to do better in life, but you don't actually want to invest the time and energy. You just want to sit there and watch another YouTube video, which is exactly why I developed a coaching program. Because I realized the problem that we have today is not that we don't know what to do.
I've looked at his coaching. I've looked at the website, and I haven't done it yet. I'm very excited to, because it's all very like super reasonably priced, at least for me. I don't know like what it is for you guys and what it is now, but I think it was like $25 for each of the packages, and there were like 4 or 5 packages, and then you could get them all for like $75 or $100 or something like that. And compared to therapy, that's pretty good. Like, therapy is freaking expensive, and so if you can get a bunch, like they had specific coachings in his packages, and I'm just gonna get them all and check it out, and not try not consume it all at once, right? That's the problem that we're having, is we sit there and we're like, oh, we're gonna do this and that and the other, but we don't actually do this or that, and then we never get to another. So I'm definitely gonna check his stuff out, and I'm gonna start with one of them. And I might even, you know, put my thoughts here afterwards, because I'm sure he doesn't want that stuff on here. So, anyway,
It's that we don't
definitely
really
check this out.
understand how we work and how to get ourselves to actually do things. And the reason I developed a coaching program is so that 12 weeks from now, you can actually have made progress.
12
We've shown
weeks.
that people improve in their sense of
I
life
appreciate
purpose
that.
by about
I haven't heard that yet.
58% and a 25 to 45% reduction in depression and anxiety. The reason we made a coaching program isn't because you can't DIY it. It's because if you want to have made significant progress, 3 months from now, you're going to need help doing it. So if you're interested, check out the link in the description below.
That's another thing too. That's a college course, like 3 months. That's how long a college course takes. And so and it's also proven that it takes time to actually make change happen. And so I appreciate that he has that built into the coaching, that it does take a while. So
And if you're still not ready yet, totally fine. That's why we literally have 800 YouTube videos. So there's something we've got to understand about the consumption of mental health content, which is actually spiraling out of control right now on the internet, which we are a part of. Okay, and
is that a freaking pig? Oh, I've got creatures of the forest. Hold on one sec. Cool. Sorry about that.
I'll tell y'all what we're doing to deal with it. So the first thing to understand is, as someone struggles with their mental health, they recognize that their mental health is struggling. And then what happens is our mind does something really, really slippery, which is it recognizes, okay, I need to do something to fix this problem. But then the problem is that there's a part of our mind that looks at what it takes to fix a problem and decides that it doesn't want to do that. Because fixing problems is difficult. Fixing problems requires sacrifice.
Dude, it's hard. Even just walking. Even just going around for a walk, man. Like, the mental energy and the mental gymnastics that my brain puts myself through to get up and go for a little walk, it's insane. Like, it sucks. Like, I enjoy looking at the trees. I'm playing Pokemon Go. And so, like, there's reasons. There's plenty of reasons. My mental health, my physical health, there's lots of reasons to go for a walk every single day. But it's hard. I don't know. And I've been finding tools, mental practices and whatnot, to get myself to do these things, but it's not easy, and it's crazy. It's weird that it's not easy.
Fixing problems is sometimes painful and requires things like accountability, and the mind does not like.
Somebody said sorry, I keep pausing. We're only freaking 4 minutes into this video, but I said to somebody the other day, but I heard it a long time ago, that if change was easy, everybody would do it. Simple as that.
That. So sometimes what the mind will do is it'll look for something that is almost like virtue signaling for improving our mental health. It'll look for something that says, okay, if I do this thing, then I'm checking the box
Even
of
just talking about
improving
it.
my life. And if I'm checking the box, then here's the key thing. I can continue with the degenerate behavior I do not want to give up. Degenerate is maybe a little bit unfair.
Literally, even just talking about wanting to change can sometimes trick your brain into thinking you did it.
Like if people are struggling with an addiction, that's the slipperiness of the
Sneaky.
addiction mind. This is what I learned as an addiction psychiatrist. Some people will show up and will talk the talk. And now what's happened is we have a plague of mental health content on the internet, of which we're guilty. And here we are trying to help people with their mental health, but there's something really slippery that goes on, which is that watching our content is not going to be sufficient to change your life. right? And I hate to say it, but that's how it is. So this is what we actually try to do.
No, and every single time he promotes his thing because that's the thing that actually does it, and then people are like, "Oh, but you make money." Well, change is hard, and you gotta. He put in a lot of work. I'm sure he paid like a lot of people to get this thing done, and shit doesn't come free. You know, like people have stuff exists out in the world because people made an effort to make it exist out in the world. And so, and sometimes that costs money.
Do with our content. So I'm going to explain
Not
this. I don't know
sponsored.
that we've ever explained this, but so here's the thing. If someone is not reluctant to engage in mental health support or improvement, what you basically have to do is meet them where they're at, which is precisely why we do what we do, right? So we try to create content that is engaging for people where they're at. So even if someone doesn't actually want to do anything about their mental health, we're actually okay with that, and we're going to try to engage you in a way that sort of brings you in, right? Makes things a little bit entertaining.
Like the shorts. All of the short content out there that it's like, oh, change your life, 5 easy steps, right? And then it lists, and then you're expected to scroll, you move on, you forget about it. Like, he's making shorts, but he's bringing people in, right? I see no problem with his stuff. I see a huge problem with the creators out there that are making get help quick schemes and aren't realistic about the fact that it's hard. It's fucking hard. It's not, oh, just
A little bit fun, a little bit humorous.
Sorry, I keep
and
pausing.
hopefully by the end of it,
Sorry about
over
that.
time, you will start to make some changes. And this is what we've seen in our community time and time and time again. It's not like people show up on day one and then they watch one video and they're like, oh crap, I'm going to transform my life because I watched one YouTube video by this guy. And then I'm going to transform my life. It's actually the people who do that end up not sticking with it, right? And sometimes like this is even consistent with things like mania, where I've seen a lot of people, you know, clinically who are manic and they like watch one video and they're like, oh my God, this transforms my life. So if you're someone who is watching one video and you're like, this shit is transforming my life, unless it's the Gifted Kids video, that one is fair game. Or maybe we've got a couple that I think is fair to transform your life, to be honest. We've heard that feedback like time and time and time again. So maybe, like 1 or 2% of y'all, you can be transformed by one video. We'll concede that point. But 99 to 98% of people, let's be honest, one video is not going to change your life. And so then the question is,
I'm not
if
gonna
you're
say anything.
chain watching Dr. K's content, we see this a lot where people will binge watch it, right? The key thing to understand is that information does not necessarily create behavioral change. There's a second component to this, which is the application of the stuff in your life. And that's also why when we make content, we don't just say, hey, here's what's going on. We try to say like, okay, here are 1 or 2 things that you can do to apply this principle to your life. And that's where the rubber meets the road, right? And this is true of other parts of like watching content as well.
does.
Like, you can look at
people
exercising
don't.
content, or if you're like me, you can watch cooking videos on YouTube. But watching cooking videos is not the same as learning how to cook. And our content is no different. So what I would strongly encourage y'all
No.
to do is pay attention to your mind.
And just like cooking videos, there's some cooking videos out there that provide the ingredients list and the bakings and all that stuff right there in the description or the comments or whatever you want to call it for that social media. And then there's some out there that you have to click on their website, go to their website, load up all their ads, scroll down to find the thing. It's split up under. No. That's the difference that makes the difference.
Mind.
And this guy, Dr. K, I really, really appreciate his stuff. And so,
Right? And here's
keep
one
watching.
really simple test that you can do. And be honest with yourself. What am I watching this content for? And there are a couple of reasons that you can watch it. Well, number one is I'm watching this content in order to get ideas so that I can try to make some kind of substantial change to my life. I'm watching this in order to apply it. Okay? That's number one.
That's the
And if
goal.
that's what you really want to do, what you should do is try the thing in the video before you watch the next video, right? Try it. The second thing that you can do
and sometimes trying it is a 3-month process. And so we need to recognize that, right? Like, it's good to watch his stuff. It's good to watch a couple of videos and find the one that you really want to work on. But then let's work on it, you know?
To make our content more worthwhile is manipulate the information. So now we're going to teach y'all some stuff about how information changes someone's behavior. And this is the crazy thing. It doesn't even
reframing.
require you to attempt to do something. The key thing that has been shown scientifically to result in like understanding and behavioral change is the ability to manipulate the information. So for example, if we have, when we're working in the hospital, right? So I'm a psychiatrist. So
think he's
sometimes we'll
talking
have someone
about-
in the hospital who wants to leave the hospital against medical advice. So this may be someone who came in with a heart attack and they are addicted to alcohol or opiates. And so what happens is on day 2 of the hospitalization, they had a small heart attack. They're sitting in the ICU. They're starting to like want their substances. They're starting to withdraw and they're like, I want to leave. And people are like, you can't leave. You just had a heart attack. And then the patient is like, no, I want to leave. And so then then what happens is the cardiologist calls the psychiatrist.
What do they do
right?
when they have
And so then I
Karens?
get a page and I show up at like 2 a.m. because there's a patient who's 2 days post-MI who wants to leave the hospital. And now this is where we get into a really tricky thing as
Probably why my cousin quit, man. She was working in the hospitals for years and years and years, and she finally quit. Said, this is crazy. That's probably one of them. It's people like that were like, oh, I got it. And we're like, we're trying to save your life. No. And that's what he's trying to do. You know, he's trying to help people, but he's also trying to take a step back and be like, you can't help people that don't want to be helped.
doctors, because on the one hand, we're here to help patients, but we also want to respect their autonomy. And so what we do is something called a capacity evaluation. And a capacity evaluation involves checking a couple things to make sure that this person is well within their mental frame to make decisions to leave the hospital. And one of the key aspects that we rely on that sort of demonstrates that this person really knows what they're doing is their ability to manipulate information. And so if y'all are watching our videos, and even if you don't say, you say, Dr. K says, okay, like you should meditate one every day for 1 week, and you're like, I can't do that. That's totally fine. What you should do though is manipulate the information. Play around with it in your head. What this means is challenge the information, right? So Dr. K says this, and I think he's wrong because of this. That's actually good. Tell me why I'm wrong, right? Do it in your head, or I guess post.
I hope he talks about what if he's right, because I usually think he's right. I just don't ever do it.
Second thing that you can do is try to think about, okay, even if you think that this is wrong, and this is really huge, if you think a piece of information is wrong and you're listening to someone else and your mind is reflexively challenging it, if you really want to learn and change, what you should do is try to understand how that information could be right. So try to take the other person's point of view and question your own beliefs, right? So this is something that the internet
Yeah.
doesn't do. The internet is like, hey, I
No.
think this is wrong. Therefore, screw that.
Not only just the internet, but people in general, and it's getting worse and worse. And we really it takes every individual person to do something about it, and we really got to try. I'm trying. I am not perfect, but I'm doing what I can.
Them, downvote, cancel them. We never question our
Gotta
own
take
beliefs.
people's
And this is how we
perspectives.
create echo chambers. And this is how we stay stuck. So if you are someone who consumes some kind of content, this is really common, by the way, right? So we see this a lot with like people who are consuming content that they disagree with. And this is like, this can be political, where I'm going to watch videos of people who I politically disagree with, and I'm going to just poop on them in my head, and I'm going to feel better about myself. Or we see it with things like gender dynamics, where I'm going to consume stuff that has a view on gender and relationships that I completely disagree with. And I'm going to consume that content. And then people are really confused. They're like, I don't understand why the algorithm is serving me this toxic content. It's because the algorithm understands that you actually really enjoy engaging with it, right? And then you watch this crap and you're like, these people are wrong. Ha, 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 ha. All these people are idiots.
Hate watching.
They're all dumbasses. So this is what our mind reflexively does.
Love watching stuff that makes you go, I hate seeing that. Why do we do that?
So if you want to really learn something, I know it sounds insane, but try to understand the other person's perspective, okay? This is the second way you manipulate information. One is to challenge it, and the second is to try to support it. Try to figure out what is this person thinking and in what circumstances could this be true? Because here's the crazy thing is if you understand that side of things, you will understand so much more and you may grow yourself as a human being, okay? So that what you really need to do is manipulate the information. The third thing that you can do is engage with the information either through conversation, like you can post, like we see this a lot where, you know, we'll have like video-based discussions on our subreddit or talk to people on Discord or talk to people about, you know, what they think about this particular thing. These are all ways to manipulate information. And for those of y'all that are kind of lazy, right, you're like, I don't want to do anything. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to like meditate. I don't want to wake up. I don't want to do yoga. I don't want to journal. At least think about it. And that's one step forward in terms of like applying the
Okay, but what if I want to do it, right? What if I want to do it?
Content to your life. And this is something that I think we undervalue in our society today. So right now we get bombarded with so much information and so many opinions that we stop thinking for ourselves. And people are kind of like wondering, they're like, why on earth do people listen to celebrities and their opinions on like geopolitics or the economy? Like, what does a celebrity know about this particular thing? And why do we do that? We do that because we as human beings and in this society today, we have surrendered our capacity for critical thinking. And this is where there's so much information, but why isn't the whole world becoming happy and successful, right? There's all the side hustle people out there.
I don't know, man. I think there's too much thinking. That's part of the problem is that there's too many freaking diverse thoughts. It's good to have diverse thoughts, but we need to be able to have perspective on each other. And there's all these different bubbles and they're all clashing with each other. Like, it would be really nice if there were all these different bubbles and we communicated freely. But communication is hard, especially when we're not teaching it anymore.
The finance bros and maybe finance ladies, who knows, who are like, you should side hustle and you should do this in crypto. And like, why isn't everyone a millionaire? Like, what happened? Like, how is this? There's so much good information. It's because we don't think about it. We've stopped doing the thinking for ourselves. And so this is the key thing to understand about consuming our content. First of all, you've got to be careful that
they definitely find the people that don't think for themselves, for sure.
There is not a part of your mind that is using our content as a substitute for progress. Do y'all understand that? What this means is that you think, okay, if I watch 10 Dr. K videos, my life will get better, right? And so then you're like passively watching Dr. K videos because like if you watch enough Dr. K videos, your life will get better, right? There's some data, so we're doing an internal study and we hope to kind of formalize it and stuff like that. So we have some initial data that watching our content can improve mental health by about like 8 to 11%, literally. Like, it may actually help. Just as a frame of reference, you know, some studies show that medication improves things by maybe about 30 to 50%, right? So some studies say 50 or 60%. Chances are that further data really shows that that number is way smaller than we thought, and it's probably closer to 30%. So, hey, like, I'll take watching YouTube or Twitch or whatever for being a third of the value of an SSRI. Like, I'll take that, right? So this
Yeah, and they all work together, you know? Like, if you're watching the videos, if you're doing the medication, if you're doing coaching or therapy, like, those all help if you have a good family instead of, like, a toxic family that doesn't help you. You know, these things all add up. And that's why there's some successful people out there, and that's why there's some not successful people. And we need to start helping each other because that's how we can get each other up there.
Data hasn't been third-party checked or we haven't done a formal study or anything like that yet. We've seen a signal that is now like, okay, we should really study this, do something that's a little bit more controlled, really analyze the data and see how much it helps people. But this is also what we see kind of like on when people in our community say, hey, you've helped me a lot, right? So I went to the International last week and that was fun. And like literally hundreds of people were like, hey, your content has changed my life. So when people walk up to me and they say that, I'm like, okay, like maybe we're doing something right. But the key thing here is that you've got to be careful because sometimes your mind will delude you into thinking that you're making progress by doing something that is very, very hands-off. That's not hard. So be careful about that.
Literally even just talking about making progress can sometimes make you think that you're making progress. And I have had to recognize that wanting to do something is not the same thing as doing it. And if I want to go on a hike every single day for a year, and I don't go on a hike once, well,
Binge watching our content, like if you want to, go for it, right? I'm not going to say no. But also recognize that there's a majority of people in our community who will say, hey, it helped a lot more when I slowed it down. So watch out for that. Second thing is, if you want to make it worthwhile, just do the stuff that we tell you to do. Easy. That's why we tell you to do it, right? Give it a shot. I'm not saying you have to do it 100%. Give it a shot. The whole
And then
point
give it a
is
month.
for you to learn about yourself. Because I know
I'm
it sounds
telling
crazy.
myself that just as much
Brilliant
as
as I
you.
am, a stranger on the internet is not going to be able to give you the perfect advice. The whole point of this channel is to teach people how to understand themselves. It's to teach you how to understand.
Everybody's different, and everybody's going to require different things, but there are some key things that every single advice guru out there or therapist says, and they all boil down to know yourself, do the things you need to do, and actually do them instead of just pretending to do them.
Yourself.
Or
So what
doing
we're
it
going to do is we're going to give
half-assed.
you like a heads up. I mean, sorry, a head start, right? We're going to lay things out so that you don't have to figure everything out, but you should test it and apply the concept to yourself. And the last thing is, even if you're not willing to do anything, that's okay. Try to manipulate the information. Challenge the information. Try to understand, for the parts that you disagree with, why is your perspective different from this person's perspective? That's really healthy. And the fourth thing, which we're totally for, is if you look at addiction psychiatry, change doesn't happen overnight. And so this is the fourth thing that we really focus on, and I do this quite intentionally, is I recognize that not everyone is willing to make a change today when they watch a piece of our content. They're not willing, right? So y'all in the audience, you may not be willing to change. That's actually okay. But as long as you stay around, over time, what we tend to see is that people are more and more willing to change. So I wouldn't say binge watch everything and then disappear for a month. What I'd say is like watch a couple videos a week, and then like over time, like your desire to change will increase. And that's actually what we see too, which is that I don't think that, I don't think that people find drastic change in a short amount of time. I think what happens is people who are members of our community, their mental health will improve over the course of months to years. And so that can work. And it's okay if you're not ready to change today. We're going to try to send you something entertaining. But I think the unfortunate truth is that a lot of people will use our content as a substitute for making progress in their life. They'll start to think like, okay, if I watch enough YouTube videos, I will be better. And that's just like saying, look, you can watch.
I hope Dr. K doesn't beat himself up too much about that, because that's just inevitability. There's always going to be people out there, but making that difference is helpful, and it's up to the people, so you can't hold that on yourself. And it's just, it is what it is. But that's definitely true, that there's going to be a lot of people out there that watch his stuff and are like, oh, I know all of this information. Okay, but do you? Because do you actually put it into practice?
Watch enough YouTube videos about working out ain't gonna make you swole. And I hate to say it, mental stuff is a little bit different, right? Because hopefully you can shape your thoughts, and that's a part of being mentally swole. But at some point you gotta do something. And so be careful about that for yourselves and other people.
Check his stuff out. Dr. K, Healthy Gamer, GG. I always love his stuff. This one was new 4 days ago. You just gotta do it.